Father, the sleeper has awakened!
What's up, YouTube? It's Artisan MC, and I'm in traffic, rushing to work, and now you can see me. It's a little loud. I apologize, but I'm about to do 90 just to make sure I get to work on time. It's Friday, and I'm sleeping pretty good. The shoulder was bothering me. I didn't take the medication my doctor gave me the other day because I don't know how the medication is going to affect me trying to wake up early in the morning, because that is not my favorite thing to do. And I don't like to interfere with that because it's hard enough getting up in the morning. I am a night person. I walk around in the day. And yeah. So anyway, I have some stuff on my mind, and it's minor stuff. It's not really on my mind. I just feel like I should say something about some of this, just to air it out and get it out of my head and off into the world so we can do what we do. I think the first thing is that last couple of weeks have been kind of, humbling is the right word, because I don't see myself as being very arrogant. But there have been some kind of what the fuck humbling experiences in the last couple of weeks on the personal front. And as I've said in videos and whatnot, I am a pretty sensitive Scorpio. And I don't say that as a red flag motherfuckers to go up and think they're gonna go in on me. Fuck you. I'm sensitive, but I'm ready for war. So don't get that shit twisted. I understand who I am. I understand who I am not. I understand how to deal and how to manage who I am and how to protect myself. And my soft spot still always comes in with women. The problem is I understand where some of this stuff comes from, and I make conscious moves to counteract some of this stuff. But I'm also a man, and I make conscious moves to make sure the man in me is represented and not ran over. That usually leads me into a lot of conflicts with people. Now, conflicts in and of itself is not a problem, because people will have one or two, possibly three, ways that they react or take me. They either like me, they will either hate me, or they will either not understand me. They won't get it. And I'm fine with that either way. Only people I really want to understand who I am and give a fuck if they like me or not. It's people that I genuinely like, want to keep around in my life. And I understand I do that shit as a labor of love. It's an outpouring of some kind of respect to really try to forge relationships with people. It's not like saying I have to see value in you because I believe everybody has value. It just may not be high enough for you, or it may not be one of the values that you aspire to. But everyone does have a value, whether you recognize it or not. And the best way to, in some ways, show people your value is to let them respect your absence. They can appreciate your presence, and they can learn to respect your absence. Because nobody in this world you have to actually stay around for. For me, it's a little different because I actually read people and actually get in pretty deep on a psychological level, trying to figure out and understand who people are. They'll do what they don't do, where their breaking points are, how you can boost them up, how you can tear them down. I get into learning all of that stuff. And it's not that I'm learning to be malicious or anything like that. I don't. It's just the way my brain works. We say that a lot. Is that I know who I am. I know how my brain works. And my brain works to figure out all that kind of stuff. It just does. That's the way it is. And I don't try to fight it. I mean, I know how to curtail it and try to just get like surface level beads on people and leave the rest up to mystery and stuff like that. So they don't feel like they're as intensely scrutinized as they actually are. But I try to give them room to show me who they are and try to prove me wrong. And in some ways, doing things that way is a dangerous prospect for me because it leaves me open to a little bit of an unforeseen, and it leaves me open a bit to being hurt or some ways mistreated in a sense. Because I'm curious and because I am a little less fearful of situations, I will knowingly walk into situations that don't look good. I will. Because one, I like learning. Two, I know there's probably going to be pain there. Pain doesn't necessarily scare me. And three, I'm pretty sure I can take it. If I can't take it, I won't even go for it, okay? But one of my mantras in life is to fear less. And that is to go where your ego is afraid to go, because that goes to the destruction of the ego, and really learning to be open and trusting of other people, and to live a more full life because you are not bound in by what fear and your ego tell you is the negative outcome of what could happen. I accept those negative outcomes, and I may go into it anyway if I determine that those negative outcomes are less severe than I would be willing to endure. Okay, so let's say in personal life recently, what I've been dealing with the last couple of weeks is confirming for myself um, an idea. I confirm confirm for myself an idea. And when I went to confirm that idea because I wanted to know and I needed to know so I could start, moving on with my life and things I had going on, I told myself the whole time that I knew this is going to hurt. This shit is going to hurt. This is going to hurt bad. I told myself that, and I accepted it. I accepted the fact that the shit was going to hurt if it proved out the way I thought it was. But some railroad tracks only line up one way. Okay, so being that the things I was seeing were adding up to this scenario, I went ahead and decided to confirm for myself said scenario to prove it one way or the other, because there is an area of gray I can play in, but for me, things either have to be on or off. I've learned to accept the level of gray, but I don't accept that shit everywhere. Some things are what they are, and they're not what they're not. And I don't try to waste my time, paint that gray area around everything, so I never have to actually make a firm decision on it. So I tested my hypothesis, got the data, and it turns out what I thought I was saying was true. I was proven right. That shit did hurt a little bit because it hurts a bit because you don't like feeling like you invested for nothing. That's the problem. Is that it's not like at the time it feels really intense because nobody likes getting fucking duped. Nobody likes being duped. Nobody likes having the feeling that everything that they knew with some certainty was not true. They don't like having, their testers and their sensors being proven to be inaccurate. Problem is, the problem comes in, is that usually your sensors are not inaccurate. You usually ignore them. As a regular person, you usually ignore your senses. For me, my senses were up. I saw the signs. I knew what it meant because I had enough experience to see it, but I kind of ignored it. I took the note, I took it under advisement, put it up on the bulletin board in my mind, and just left it there as another possible thing that could be going on. But let's lead on a good foot and deal in good faith, as opposed to dealing with now I'm getting into private investigator bullshit, and I'm going to be behind the scenes sussing out your bullshit. I wasn't trying to do all that. I've done it. It's too much extra fucking work. It's too much work for what will be revealed in time on its own. So I let the clock run. Let the fucking clock run. Now, even doing that, it doesn't mean that I forestall having an emotional reaction to that shit because, like I said, I am sensitive. And I did because the investment of my time I do not necessarily take lightly, and it is disappointing. That's what I can say the most. It's not usually sadness nowadays at this point in my life. It's not usually sadness. It's more so disappointment and reservation that the Bears were exactly who we thought they were. That's it. I hate being confirmed about the wrong shit, the worst shit in people. I hate it. It's a gift, but it's not one that I necessarily enjoy. Put it that way. It's a gift and a curse at the same time. That if I believe you would do this kind of fucked up thing, and know that, okay, under these circumstances, you would probably do this fucked up thing, and it's tested, and you do that fucked up thing, it's actually disappointing to me because I wanted you to succeed. I wanted you to not be, that weak or have that kind of weakness. And it's proved the point that you do. You do have that kind of weakness, that the rest of my analytical skills and my judgment on who people are was not wrong. It was right. It's like, fuck, man. Why can I be right about, the good things? Like, the fuck? So it gets disappointing because it seems like I can find the weak spots and I can find the breaking points, but they're always going to be negative. You can't find the weak spots and breaking points in terms of the positive outcomes for, say, myself or anything like that. And that's a bit frustrating and disappointing. It's like being a muse and being able to inspire, see all these possibilities, but not being able to have any of those possibilities for yourself. It kind of sucks, right? So that's what it is that I go through, and I've done this, multiple times in life because I'm not one who wants to live in ignorance. I like to know, and knowing knowledge, as I've said before, knowledge is a burden. It is a burden. Knowing these type of things about people's darker natures, about the darker parts of their mind and how they operate, and what motivates them, how they will try to go about certain things, can be a benefit, but it can change you in a way as well. It's like being a police officer. Police officers can see, or a homicide cop, whatever, can see the darkest parts of people. And when you can see the darkest parts of people on a regular basis, it can't help but to change you a little bit to people. It makes it harder for you to actually believe that people have some inner light in them, and that everyone is not just a petty, selfish little fucking creature just grumbling over whatever they can grab for themselves and actually have nothing to give but that darkness. It's a tough thing. It is. And no one really wants to see the dark side of people like that all the time, but some of us can. Now, I won't run out there and say I'm doom and gloomer. Not. But I accept the fact that darkness comes with light. I accept that fact. That there are pros and cons, positives, negatives, pluses and minuses, light sides and dark sides, all of that shit within people. And they have the choice. And which parts they show and which parts they see from others. I try to make a conscious choice to see the positive in people, even though I know it may right up front see what their dark side could be. You try to see the positive and try to be a reflection of getting them in some senses to see that as well. Problem is I deal with a lot of damaged people. Either by choice or something in me gravitates to them or makes them gravitate to me. It just is what it is. I end up interacting with a lot of these people. and really emotionally damaged. Not as self-aware, not as self-reflective, not as excuse me, holding themselves to a high sense of self-accountability. It's a lot of lashing out and projecting onto others their dysfunction from the people who raised them and the situations that they have got themselves into. And that's primarily the case, I think, because I deal with a lot of females. I do. I'm a heterosexual man. I deal with a lot of females on one level or another. Because I'm into females. My sensitivity comes in because I'm the oldest of a single mother. So there was a lot of sensitivity I learned from being that secondary parent, in a sense, in my mother's house, and having to understand her moves and whatnot from the time she walked in the door to understand what my role was and what I needed to do to facilitate her not going the fuck off and being pissed off. So they seem like a fucked up life skill, but it is a life skill. It comes with its own difficulties. Fucking hate early morning motorcycle riders. Construction workers on motorcycles in the morning are dumb as fuck because they do shit that will get them fucking killed. And they're riding next to cars and trucks. Stop being a fucking asshole. Jesus Christ. Anyway. So the last couple of weeks, I was dealing with the fallout of some shit and dealing with my dip into the dark side or taking on somebody else's dark side. Because in essence, that's what you do, or what I do. I end up taking on some of the other person's dark side to understand. I do. You have to dabble in somebody's dark side a little bit to understand fully who they are. If you're only seeing their smiling faces and shit like that, then you're not really seeing them. But if you piss them off enough, you will see that real face come out. You'll see it. You'll see glimpses of it if you just piss them off a little bit. And I don't have a problem pissing people off. It's easy. It's like a martial arts master understanding that hurting people is easy. It's not a skill really to be able to hurt somebody. You can hurt somebody being untrained. The real skill comes in healing people and actually knowing how to heal people from the shit that they have been through. Everybody doesn't understand that. And everybody can talk about it. Nobody really knows how to do it. They don't. That's the whole purview of psychology and psychiatrists and psychologists and therapists and all that shit. That's what their role is. That's the sensitivity and shit you have to learn to actually have people and teach people how to heal themselves. You have to be trained for that shit. It's like a doctor. You're not a doctor because you got a pair of rubber gloves, a surgical mask, and a stethoscope. No, you're not trained to do shit. You just know how to put on the clothing. Congratulations. But to actually be able to go in and know, I will clamp this artery here, I will move this valve here, and I will suture here. And when I tie these two things together, the blood will now flow around this blocked artery or ventricle and get back to where it is pumping clean again, and the patient will live and be healthy and just heal without a problem, that takes training and skill. And that's just in the physical, tangible world where you can see it and touch it. The mental world, the emotional world, is not physical, is not tangible. It manifests itself physically in the tangible world. But seeing those same kind of furrows, veins, arteries, blood vessels, and stuff like that, emotionally, and how these things are tied together is something you have to fucking learn. You can't see it. You have to be able to visualize it. You have to be able to see it. You have to understand how it starts. You have to understand how it grows. And then you have to know how to fucking fix it. Most people don't. And that's why a lot of people do not get the one thing that will probably help them the most, which is fucking therapy. Because they don't want to go under the knife, so to speak, emotionally and mentally, and have that surgery to cut that fucking cancer out and get it done because they're too afraid. They do not know who they will be afterwards. They don't. Think it might change their whole personality, which it will. It might give you, but not even a might, it will give you a better one. You'll still be you, but you will not base who you are in this pain complex. You will not base who you are in this dysfunction. In essence, you will have moved out of the place of your becoming, which was a dysfunctional, painful place, into a place where you can now decide who you want to be without that pain, or at least understanding what that pain was and how it controlled you. How it didn't actually make you who you are, it subverted and diverted who you were meant to be. So in essence, that's what I do. I try to fix people. And one of the things I try to do when I try to fix people is I have to invest a level of myself into them to actually try to help them. I have to dip into their dark side a little bit. Got to wade into that muddy water and try to show that I'm there with them and get them to understand that I'm there with them, to try to pull them out of it a bit, or get them at least to walk up the goddamn shore a bit. And that can be a tough thing because psychologically dipping into somebody's dark side, as a therapist, they'll tell you you need to keep your boundaries a little bit. You need to be open, but you need to keep your boundaries a little bit. And not being a licensed therapist or anything like that, for me, I have to be able to dip into that. I have to be able to get past their boundaries. And the easier way for me to show people how to be open is to be open. Funny, right? That if you want somebody to be open to you, you have to be at least open to them so they can see what open looks like. Because most of us wasn't trained. A lot of us were not trained for this shit. And I'm just talking about the everyday walking around people trying to deal with others in some kind of relationship or personal way. We didn't learn how to be open with people. We didn't. We learned how to protect ourselves from getting punched in the face. So what I do is I try to be open and show them how to be open, what that openness looks like. So I'm actually teaching them how to be open and ask a lot of questions and get them to open up through trust and everything else, right? Now that's a dangerous way to go because you have to be able to pull. If it starts becoming toxic to you, you have to understand how to pull yourself out of that or have a strong enough immunity to the goddamn toxins. Okay? That's pretty much how it's going to go. You have to be able to transmute that shit into something else. Otherwise, it'll end up tearing you down as well. A lot of times it doesn't work at the time. It doesn't necessarily work 100% at the time. In which case, you have to extricate yourself, close yourself back off, step away, and clean all of that stuff off of you and get back to who you were. So think of it as, pulling a golden idol out of the mud. You know there's gold underneath there, but you have to wipe the mud off to see the full thing, to get back to what that idol was before somebody threw it into the mud. That's pretty much what I have to do. I pretty much have to clean myself back off, extricate all their negativity and shit from me, and drop it off and get back to who I was before that toxic. Because like Paul in the water of life, I have transmuted this fucking poison, and I'm going to go back on with life as the being that I was meant to be. It can be a tough process. It can be a slow process. This time, I think it took a week or two, week and a half. So that's what I've been doing, and getting back to my center, and back with who I am. So that's it. I'm at work. A couple of minutes. I'm not even late. Good. Like being late. But yeah, that is it for Friday. I guess that went off. But the larger point is that you have to understand who you are, and it's important to understand how to be open and how to close emotionally, I believe. But that is just my belief. I don't have to think that that's how everybody does things. It is in a way how I do things and how I've learned how to manage this living world, in a sense. So that's my philosophy on dealing with troubling emotions and troubling people. So that's it. I'm gonna get suited up for work today and get this day over with, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.
Thank you.